Welcome into the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Wednesday, June 5th, and we got a loaded show today. Excited to be here talking recruiting with you guys on the Inside Scoop. Before we get going, make sure you are subscribed to the best recruiting channel on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Look, we crossed over 50K. Thank you for being here. All right, today's show, we're going to talk some Tennessee recruiting. We're going to talk some Auburn recruiting. But first, we're also going to have Chad Simmons on. But first, we had a major flip yesterday. Keelan Russell, the longtime SMU quarterback commitment, the number 8 quarterback in the country, number 57 prospect overall. Oh, it breaks my heart for SMU fans, but the Duncanville High School standout flipped his commitment coming off of his visit to Alabama. He commits to Alabama. Now, he did take about 24, 48 hours to think it all over, but you knew the writing was on the wall when his dad came out and said that Alabama leads despite his commitment to SMU. Well, about 24 hours after that, he announced his commitment, and Alabama gets their guy. This is their quarterback for the cycle. Actually, it's the first high school quarterback to commit to Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. So we're going to get it going because summer officials, they kicked off over the weekend, and we know when recruits start taking these visits and they start seeing some things, their recruitments can change. That's why I got Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons to talk about 5 momentum-changing official visits from the past weekend. And let's bring in Chad Simmons. Chad, we will start with 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. He went out to the Plains, and coming off that visit, he named Auburn his leader. That's a major shift. But my question to you is, do you think this Auburn momentum can last? Because we know there's a lot of competition for Caleb Cunningham.
Yeah, Josh, and we know he's taking this thing the distance probably into closer to December. So I think we've been down this road before, you and I, where Caleb's coming off a visit, that school kind of grabs some momentum. That's why I said, it's great for Auburn. Auburn has their foot in the door. They're now a contender for one of the top playmakers this cycle in the 2025 class, but they still have a lot of work to do to secure not only his commitment, but signing obviously on December 4th. You know, they're up against some top schools starting in state with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. But we've been down this road where he's been to LSU and loved it, been to Alabama and loved it, been to Mississippi State and loved it, Florida State, Florida. You know, now Auburn, but Auburn obviously is the fresh school to get him on campus. Did a great job. Marcus Davis, Hugh Freeze kind of selling his development of DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, guys he had at Ole Miss in the past. And Caleb obviously is looking for the right opportunity. Auburn now is the trending team. Mm-hmm. Can they hold on for the next 6 months? That's to be determined.
Yeah, I don't expect Auburn to hold this lead. I think Caleb Cunningham, like you said, takes some visits. I think we do see a new leader at some point, but this is still great news for Auburn. I mean, we know Hugh Freeze can go out and land a 5-star wide receiver, so I'm not discounting Auburn. I think there's going to be some ups and downs. We're going to see a new leader at some point. But a great sign for Auburn, especially if they can get him back on campus maybe before the season starts. And then again, during the season, you know how it goes. We could see Auburn in the mix down the stretch. All right. Speaking of guys that like to take visits and name new leaders, Jamie French was on campus at LSU over the weekend, the 5-star wide receiver. It's all been about Texas for about the past month. And hey, we even saw him in Nashville, and he was very high on Texas, but he did look forward to that LSU visit, and that visit was over the weekend. Do you think he's considering linking up with Bryce Underwood down there in the Bayou?
Oh, there's no doubt, Josh. There's no doubt he's considering playing with Bryce Underwood. A lot of guys would love to play with a quarterback like that for the next 3 or 4 years. And those guys know each other well. They spend a lot of time together in Nashville at the On3 Elite Series, and they continue to build that relationship. And, you know, obviously Jamie has named now for, multiple weeks and multiple interviews that Texas is the top school. I think even leaving Nashville for me on my end, talking to other people, I didn't think maybe Texas led as much as he made it sound like when he talked to the media and kind of gave his statements about top schools. But LSU did a great job over the weekend. Will Jamie come out and say, hey, they're his number 1 school? We'll see. I think they are right there with Texas, if not a little bit above Texas, based on intel coming out of that trip to Baton Rouge. I mean, Hankton, Brian Kelly, the staff did a great job of showing the offense. I mean, talking Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, first-round draft picks from this past year, and the receiver production and getting the ball to the playmakers. I mean, they really checked a lot of boxes for Jamie, and Jamie's going into every visit with an open mind. Obviously, Texas did a great job. Chris Jackson, Steve Sarkisian, those guys are really doing a great job with French and his family. Family's very important too to
Mm-hmm.
Jamie French. How does his mom and stepdad feel? They felt very good in Baton Rouge. I can say that with confidence, and LSU really changed the momentum in this race.
All right, now we got another momentum shifter here when we talk about safety. Trey McNutt, the nation's #2 ranked safety in America. A lot of talk had been surrounding Ohio State, Oregon, and even Texas A&M. But this past weekend, I should say, he was out at USC, and it sounds like the Trojans might have a leg up on the competition now.
Yeah, I don't know if this was a true momentum changer, but I think USC grabbed the momentum early in the summer with this first official visit for Trey. Like you said, Texas A&M, Oregon, USC, three out-of-state schools that have been pretty strong in this race. And then Georgia's making a push, got him on campus in May. And of course, he's an Ohio State legacy. He's been there 10 plus times. I think if you were to ask me or other experts in this industry a year ago, I think we would have said, 95% locked to go to Ohio State. Over the last 6 months, he's taken trips out of state. He's built new relationships. He sees each school's pitch and plan for him. And I think I was told by a source, USC knocked it out of the park on this visit, just showing the plan, comparing him to Kyle Hamilton for the Baltimore Ravens, new DC coach Anton obviously made a big impression on Trey McNutt and really the presentation of just kind of, we know USC has an offensive juggernaut under Lincoln Riley. They want to bring guys in like Trey and a new scheme in to kind of make that defense equal to the offense to compete for a national championship. Trey sees that plan. He sees the opportunity, not just on the field, but off the field in Los Angeles to kind of build that brand, which we know is really big now in the NIL world for guys like Trey, who plays it up as good as anyone does. But I think overall, USC definitely picked up some traction here and is kind of taking the lead in this recruitment.
All right. Well, the next one, I think this one, and you might agree with me, this one is a true momentum shifter because Justin Hill, the edge from Ohio, thought he was leaning toward leaving the state. I mean, there's some picks going in for Alabama this spring. We know Oregon was involved, USC. But over the weekend, he took an official visit to the in-state Ohio Buckeyes. And coming out of it, Chad, it sounds like Justin Hill is trending to Ohio State.
Yeah, like McNutt, another Ohio native, and Ohio State would love nothing more than to keep him at home. I think they made a very strong presentation over the weekend, from Laurinaitis to Larry Johnson to Coach Knowles to Ryan Day. They sat down and showed him how he could be a linebacker, how he could be an edge rush guy, how he can get sacks off the edge, how he can play that jack position in Knowles' defensive scheme. And I think he had a couple of questions going in to this visit, and they answered every one with 100% accuracy. And just that presentation, I think, of showing him the fit, the plan, the scheme, and how he could be successful there in Knowles' defense, I think really put Ohio State in a very good position. He has the OV still to come with USC, Oregon, and Alabama. USC, I think outside looking in, Oregon's hanging around. The biggest one is Alabama. When he gets back to Tuscaloosa, can they take that momentum back? Because this weekend put Ohio State back in the driver's seat for Justin Hill.
Yeah, pretty interesting recruitment. Another major shift here. We're going to talk about safety, Laganza Shady Hayward, top 150 prospect from Lyons, Georgia. And this is a shift because heading into this past weekend's visit, he was naming Tennessee's leader, but then he shows up in Athens. He spends 48 hours there, and you're hearing a much different story coming out of this one.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest momentum changer for me coming out of the weekend, just because he's been so Tennessee strong for months. I mean, Tennessee offered him early, as Hayward would tell me, like they got on him before all the stars came and before all the other offers jumped in. And that put Tennessee in a great spot many months leading up to this visit with Georgia. And Georgia really wasn't all that heavily involved until T-Rob went down. Travaris Robinson, secondary coach for Georgia, went down in the spring, saw him practice. Over the last month and a half, Georgia's really picked it up with Laganza. And really, he's an in-state kid from Jessup, Georgia, down south, and Lyons, Georgia, Toombs County, and he's become a high priority for Georgia. Georgia got him on campus, and again, really flipped the script with Hayward. I mean, I think Tennessee obviously is still very much involved. They get that final visit in June on the 21st. I think it's coming down to Tennessee versus Georgia. Georgia took advantage of getting him on campus for 48 hours. They hit it out of the park with Hayward and his family, the connections, the relationships, his time with the players, the scheme, player development. We know Georgia's a defensive team with Kirby Smart, Dante Williams, T-Rob. Those guys are all strong in the secondary. And Georgia comes out of the weekend as the favorite to land Hayward.
Just crazy. This is what happens during summer official visit season. Recruits take trips, they see some things, and recruitment start to change. So you guys let me know, comment section below, who won the first big weekend of official visit season, and also which one of these recruitments is going to land in your team's lap. Let me know, comment section below. We got a new prediction in favor of the Tennessee Volunteers, and it's a big one. On 3, Steve Wiltfong's the one that dropped the prediction, so let's bring him on and go behind the scenes of the latest pick for Tennessee. But first, Tennessee fans, hit subscribe to the On 3 Recruits channel. We talk Tennessee recruiting the entire offseason. You don't want to miss any of it. Go ahead, hit subscribe. All right, we are here because Steve Wiltfong put in a pick for Faison Brandon. Who is he? He's the industry-ranked number 2 quarterback in the country, but for On 3 in 2026, he is our number 1 quarterback. Now, he's from Greensboro, North Carolina. He goes 6'3.5", nearly 200 pounds. He's taken visits everywhere, but this past weekend, he was at Tennessee in Knoxville. So let's bring in Steve Wiltfong right now. And Steve, this is a big one. What pushed you to put in a prediction for one of the best quarterbacks in the 2026 class?
Well, ever since Tennessee offered Faison Brandon back in June of 2023, they've kind of been setting the tone in this recruitment with the effort that they put in on the trail from Coach Halsey all the way to Coach Heupel. He's made it to Knoxville several times, including over the weekend where he celebrated his birthday throwing at camp at Tennessee. I talked to both Faison and his mom. Faison talked about the experience being very personable, and they make it feel at home every time he's there. And his big takeaway was just getting coached by Coach Halsey during the camp. He felt like he got good feedback on every rep. His mom, Rolanda Brandon, chimed in that it's always a great time when we visit UT. Now, this is a recruitment that still has a lot of runway left. There's still a lot of contenders. He's going to be at Florida State on June 9th, LSU on June 15th, Alabama on June 22nd, get back to Penn State on July 27th. Those are return trips for most of those programs. Maybe some others will emerge. Obviously, the in-state programs, North Carolina, NC State. But right now, it's Tennessee setting the tone in this recruitment, and my On 3 RPM reflects that.
Yeah. Now, you put the prediction in, so I know Tennessee fans' next question is going to be, Steve, when can we expect a commitment? Now, hearing him talk, it doesn't sound like he's necessarily in a rush to decide. We've seen a couple QB dominoes fall off the board in recent weeks. Do you think this goes through the summer into the fall, or do you think he's ready to make a quick decision?
Yeah, I don't have a decision timeline just yet for Faison Brandon. He's going to take these summer visits and then recalibrate with his family. I wouldn't be surprised if he watches some football this fall and continues to evaluate his top schools. But I think all these programs are chasing Tennessee right now as we head into the summer and then the fall.
All right. Well, you got Nico Imaliava already on campus. You got George McIntyre already committed. You got Faison Brandon now being predicted to Tennessee. How is Josh Heupel able to attract all these elite quarterbacks to his program?
Well, he boasts one of the best offenses in college football. It's an exciting style of play, and these quarterbacks can see themselves being very successful. They also see a Tennessee program that's on the rise, one that's on track to compete for national championships. They're recruiting at a high level. They're recruiting very well on the defensive side of the ball. But Coach Heupel's offense, the way him and Coach Halsey attack quarterback recruiting on the trail, it's been big. And to your point, Tennessee's recruiting at a major standard in that quarterback room right now. Jake Merklinger, the true freshman, also in that room. But Faison Brandon, not intimidated by anyone. This is a young man that is a sophomore and run to a state championship, completed nearly 70% of his passes, 36 touchdowns, just 3 picks, and ran for over 500 more with 9 more touchdowns. So he's a dynamic player under center. He's a big, strong, physical kid right now that whichever school he picks, no matter who's on the roster, he's going to come in there and instantly push that room.
All right, Steve. Well, it is a major development for Tennessee fans. We appreciate you stopping by the Inside Scoop and breaking down your latest prediction. Auburn, they're in the lead for 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. I got Tiger expert Jeffrey Lee on the video with me. We're going to find out what went on during Cunningham's weekend visit to the Plains for Auburn to come out on top of this recruitment. All the big questions, I'm going to ask it. But first, Auburn fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, the best recruiting channel on YouTube. All right, let's bring in my guy Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live. And, you talked to Caleb Cunningham directly after the visit. Auburn's his leader. What did he tell you?
They stand number one. He wasn't shy about saying, hey, they're my number one school. I was kind of taken aback from that. We've seen him take visits to other schools, and we've seen him talk highly of each of those visits. But to come out and say, they're number one, I thought was very telling of what he thinks about Auburn. The coaches, the culture, the fit, the guys he was around all weekend, I think all played a part in him walking away from there going, Auburn's at the top right now.
Right. And, hey, look, on Tuesday, Caleb Cunningham's already in Oxford on campus at Ole Miss. So we know this recruitment, despite naming Auburn his leader, Jeff, we know this recruitment's not going to be easy. You got Ole Miss in state. You got Mississippi State as well. Are they the top competition, or do you view somebody else?
I think so. I think those Mississippi schools are going to be in there until the end. I know he's going to Florida. He's going to Tennessee. He's going to Alabama. He'll be back to Auburn in July. Okay. But I think in the end it's going to be tough to get him out of the state of Mississippi.
Yeah,
I think that was more what I took away from his interview was, if anybody's going to get me out of Mississippi right now, it's Auburn.
So you said he has that visit in July. What do you think Auburn needs to do to remain at the top of his recruitment?
Keep doing what they're doing. What they have right now is they have two guys he has extremely close relationships with. He's got a long-standing relationship with Derek Nix, who was at Ole Miss. Derek Nix has been recruiting him since his 9th grade year. He said so Saturday. They have a great relationship. Then you've got Marcus Davis, who have been building a relationship for the past 2 years at Auburn. He's familiar with Auburn. He's from Mississippi, but he's been to Auburn at least 5 times that we're aware of. So he's comfortable. He likes the coaching staff. He likes Hugh Freeze in the offense. He likes how Hugh Freeze uses the wide receivers like him in his offense. So Auburn has a lot of things working for him. And I thought, Josh, one of the more interesting things he talked about over his official visit was that not only did he get to meet with the coaches and see the fit and what their plans were for him, but he also got to hang out and spend a lot of time with Cam Coleman, with Perry Thompson, with Bryce Kane, with Malcolm Simmons, the 4 guys that they just signed out of high school in the 2024 class, which as Auburn fans, I think you go, man, how do you get another 5-star wide receiver? How's this 2025 wide receiver class going to stack up when you just signed 4 studs? But so for him to be able to go in there and really hit it off with those guys, he said, we have a lot in common. We're a lot alike. We get along. We're like best friends already. So I thought that was very big for Auburn. So in order to maintain that top spot, they just need to keep doing what they're doing, keep building on those relationships, keep getting back on campus, and hopefully pull that out in the end.
Yeah. And hey, Hugh Freeze isn't happy with just signing one elite wide receiving class. He wants to back it with another one. So if you're an Auburn fan right now, outside of Caleb Cunningham, who else is at the top of that wide receiver board?
You've got 2 guys coming in this weekend who are at the top of that wide receiver board. You've got Travis Smith from Georgia coming in for his official visit. You've got Derek Smith from Alabama who's coming in for his official visit. Both of those guys. Of course, Travis Smith, everybody's got him pegged, elsewhere, probably Georgia. It would be tough to get him out of the state of Georgia. Yeah. Derek Smith is committed to Alabama. So neither one of those guys are going to be easy pulls, but Auburn's having them on campus this weekend. Another guy they've already had on campus for official visit, I think it was back in April, was C.J. Wiley. Again, not going to be easy to get him out of Georgia, but I think those 3 guys are at the top of the board. I think another guy to watch is Malik Clark. He is a 4-star from South Carolina. Auburn's working on him. Just came out. He's got Auburn in his top 5. So he would be another guy to keep an eye on. If they could get 2 to 3 of those guys to stack on top of what they brought in this past class, that would be what the recipe Hugh Freeze is looking for as far as wide receivers go in his tenure at Auburn.
All right, recruiting is heating up on the Plains. Auburn fans, let us know, comment section below. How you guys feeling about Caleb Cunningham and him naming Auburn the leader? Will it last? And also, who's your top target on that wide receiver board? Let us know, comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.